And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another instalment of my ongoing weekly series, Till the Fabled End, which in retrospect occurs to me is probably not a great name for the YouTube algorithm, but who cares? So in this series we go through every single deluxe edition of Fables and all the spin-off series. We haven't got to any spin-off series yet, and today what we're looking at is this one, Deluxe Edition Volume 10. So let's have a look at this whilst I try to get it in focus. This is the cover, and it's a nice painted colour by Mark Buckingham. On the spine, exactly as we'd expect, completely in keeping with the normal spines at this point, and the back, again as we'd expect, once upon a time, a bit of a blurb and the rest of the picture. For the rest of the dust jacket, on the inside flap we've got the usual pull quotes, and on the rear flap we have the usual biography of Bill Willingham there. Inside pages are the purple New York skyline that we're used to. So let's get the dust jacket off, and what we'll see is that under the cover we've got the exact same painted image, but it's a textless variation. Okay, let's dive into this. Looking at the contents of this volume are slightly unusual in that, if we can just zoom in, it contains Fables issues 83, 84 and 85, Jack of Fables 33, 34 and 35, the Literals 1 to 3, and then here the Werewolves of the Heartland original graphic novel. And you can see all the issues here. So it's called the Great Fables Crossover, and if you were to buy this as a trade paperback, that's the trade paperback that you need. And then that is a 9-issue, let's zoom in for a second. That is a 9-issue story. And then we have the Werewolves of the Heartland OGN, and then the usual kind of extra features. Okay. So, talking about the structure or how this is collected. Sorry, normal introduction there, then dive straight into it, and we've got the Great Fables crossover. I'm not 100% certain quite what the cadence is. Basically, it's a trilogy of trilogies. So, essentially, I believe the way this is structured, although I may be wrong, is that it's a Fables issue, a Jack of Fables issue, a Literals issue, Fables, Jack of Fables, Literals, Fables, Jack of Fables, Literals. So, as I say, a trilogy of trilogies. So, what does this mean? Well, going through one at a time, Fables is a series that we've been looking at so far, and obviously we're on 82 issues so far throughout these deluxe editions. Then there's also the Jack of Fables series, which is an ongoing series, which is also available in deluxe edition, and that we'll be looking at. That's collected in 3 deluxe editions. The first 2 would take us up to issue 32, meaning that issue 33, which is collected in here, isn't in the first 2 deluxe editions. And then here we have issues 34, 35 and 36. And then the third deluxe edition, here we have issues 33, 34, 35. And the third deluxe edition of Jack of Fable continues on after that, from issues 36 onwards. I'm just flicking through here so you can get a feel of the consistency of the art between all the issues. What that means is that the 3 issues collected here in the Great Fables crossover are not collected in the Jack of Fables deluxe editions. In other words, there's potentially an argument to be had that between deluxe edition for the Fables volume 9, which was last week's reading, and deluxe edition 10, which is this week's reading, there's an argument to be had that that would be a good time to read Jack of Fables volumes 1 and 2 as deluxe hardcovers. Now, I'm not convinced that's necessarily true, partly because Jack of Fables as a spin-off series started after Fables roughly issue 35, 36. So I guess there's a question as to when the best time to read Jack of Fables would be. But that said, at this point we come straight into some Jack of Fable issues. The third set of issues that make up this trilogy of trilogies in this 9-issue crossover is the Literals. Now, the Literals is a mini-series of 3 issues. It's literally issues 1, 2 and 3. It's not part of any other kind of ongoing series. It's 3 issues made specifically for the sake of this crossover event. So there we have it. Those are the 9 issues that comprise this particular Great Fables crossover. They're not collected anywhere else. They're collected in one trade paperback. They're not collected in the Jack of Fables deluxe editions, and there is no literals series to go through. One of the reasons that I think I'm slightly reluctant or reticent to be reading the 2 Jack of Fables deluxe editions prior to reading this volume is, and I forgot to mention this in last week's video, Volume 9 ends on a cliffhanger. To be honest, with the cliffhanger I kind of didn't notice, but the cliffhanger is one where the Beast from Beauty and the Beast and Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf, are about to throw down and have a fight. Hence this. And so I think reading Volume 9 and then pausing and reading 2 deluxe editions of Jack of Fables would probably throw that out of balance a fair bit. That said, I may be wrong. This is Jack here. In terms of Jack of Fables, you don't need to read Jack of Fables, or rather the first 32 issues, to understand what's going on here. There's a couple of basic premises. Jack is around. He has found a community of magical stroke non-magical beings, which aren't Mundies. They're not Fables. They're called literals. And it's essentially about them. In terms of the literals and how they work and sort of that sort of thing, I found them a little bit annoying because they are very genre aware and very meta. So for example, here we have the antagonist summoning the various genres. We have the Western genre, the action genre, mystery, horror, romance, and so on and so on and so on. And so as a result, it's a bit too self-referential, a bit too self-aware. For example, they keep on referring to the literal character of Dex, or Deus Ex Machina, who turns up at the last moment to save the day, and lo and behold, he turns up at the last moment to save the day. So it's, in a way, kind of an excuse for slightly lazy writing. Anyway, that's the literal. Thankfully, they only have a 3-issue miniseries of their own, which is part of this Great Fables crossover. And I'll be honest, the story as a whole, here are the 3 women who are on the cover. They're very cool characters. Hope we see more of them. This series as a whole, this 9-issue Great Fables crossover, it's quite a fun story, but it's very much a distraction and very much distinct from the ongoing story in Fables about Mr. Dark. So this is very much an interlude or an intermission, if you will. So that's what the majority of this deluxe edition is, and as I say, it's all collected in one thick trade paperback, which is called the Great Fables crossover. That takes us there. Then the rest of this deluxe edition just contains a single Fables release, which is an original graphic novel. It's quite a lot of issues, there's this many issues, and we'll talk about it more in a moment, called Werewolves of the Heartland. And this is a story that felt like it could be set either just before this or just after this. I mean, it's fine as it is, but this story is essentially Bigby trekking around the world trying to find an alternative place to have a new Fable town. And in so doing, he comes across a place called Storytown, and he basically deals with Storytown and everything going on with it. It does have a callback to one of the earlier issues of Fabled, I think back in the 3rd or 4th deluxe edition, about Bigby's time working in World War II fighting the Nazis. But it recaps that here, if you haven't read it. And then it just goes straight into this pretty interesting story about Bigby trapped in this town, Storytown, dealing with the residents, dealing with all their intrigue and battles and so on. Essentially leads to a lot of wholesale violence, as one might imagine. And then kind of it ties up and resolves reasonably well at the end as well, despite all the violence and the carnage. It's an interesting story. I quite enjoyed it. And it does end on not quite a cliffhanger, but the final words are, we're not done yet. And then it's interesting to see what this character Odra is going to do. I really hope she comes into it. But then that said, I really hope that the woman that Bigby was living with up in Alaska comes back into it, and she hasn't. So perhaps these unresolved threads are just going to continue to be the way. Anyway, after that, we then have quite an interesting afterword by Bill Willingham, actually. We then have the usual post-collection extras, so sketches and the like. And then the usual mini biographical details there. So yeah, that's what we would expect. It all looks pretty good. Overall, I thought this volume was decent fun. If pretty unrelated to the overarching arc, it's got nothing to do with Mr. Dark and the various things that are befalling Fabletown at the moment. And the Wells of the Heartland was a decent standalone, interesting story that was well written. On that note, just before we break for today, like a fool, I actually bought the Wells of the Heartland as a separate hardcover because I didn't realise it was collected in this. This is a normal size hardcover, it's not deluxe size, but it is the original graphic novel for Fables, Werewolves of the Heartland. It's got a dust jacket, as we can see here. As we can see, it is in brand new condition because I literally bought it brand new. And yeah, it is the exact same thing we were just talking about, Werewolves of the Heartland. So I have this. I haven't read this physical version because I didn't need to. Obviously, it's in my deluxe edition. But now I have this as a spare. And so as I always try to do whenever I find out that I've double dipped in error, is I would like to give this away. If anyone watching this video is interested, comment down below, let me know. As always, it's not open to previous winners. It's UK only. I will send it at my own postage, so no cost whatsoever to the viewer who wants it. Yeah, just let me know if anyone wants this and I will be happy to dispatch it for free. Okay, on that note, today was Fables Deluxe Edition, Book 10. I think we'll carry on working on Fables rather than looking at Jack of Fables. I'm happy to just continue on down that thread. So next week's homework, obviously enough, is Fables Deluxe Edition, Book 11.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at @IamThomasJudge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.